Hello and welcome to Study Time Anytime YouTube channel. Today we'll discuss some important case laws related to Constitution of Canada, which changed and directed the era of the rights as enacted in the Constitution Act 1982. So first important heading regarding which we'll discuss the judgment is right to be secure against unreasonable search and seizure. Government investigators searched the office of Edmonton. These are the brief facts of the case that the government investigators searched the office of the Edmonton Journal, a division of South. The investigators wanted to search every file in the building except for those in the newsroom. They refused to give specific information about why they were there or what sections of Combined Investigation Act authorized the search. The act was challenged, arguing that it went against the right to be secure against unreasonable search and seizure. The Supreme Court concluded that as a general rule, police and other law enforcement searches require a warrant from a judge before a search can take place. In order to get a warrant, there must usually be a reasonable and probable grounds to believe that an offense has been committed and that there is evidence to be found at the place of search. In the end, the court decided that the act violated the charter because it did not establish an appropriate process or standard for issuing warrants. This judgment set the stage for a robust Canadian approach to protecting people's privacy and. So this is the case title: Hunter versus Southam 84 to SCR 145. The right to privacy protected. People's right to privacy is protected by this judgment. Second, fundamental justice when claiming refugee status. Harbhajan Singh and 6 others tried to claim refugee status in Canada, but immigration officials denied their claim. The claimants argued that the procedures in the Immigration Act violated their fair process rights because they did not know the case against them and could not challenge the government's evidence. The majority of Supreme Court agreed with the Singh and decided that refugee status claims required an oral hearing where claimant could state their case and know the case against them. Where decisions could result in the deprivation of rights, basic procedural fairness was determined to be more important than administrative convenience. The decision has had a lasting and important impact on Canada's refugees process. So case name is Singh versus Minister of Employment and Immigration. The case is of 1985, 1 SCR 177. Third is right to religious freedom in democratic state. Big M Drug Mart was a store in Calgary that did not close on Sundays. Police charged the store for violating the Lord's Day Act, which stated that selling goods or conducting business on Sundays was unlawful. The act reflected the Christians' tradition of reserving Sunday as a date of rest. Supreme Court decided that act violated the fundamental freedoms of religion protected by the Charter. This is because act forced everyone in Canada to observe the rules of one religion, that is Christianity, which limited the freedom of religion of those who did not share the same beliefs or practices. This case recognizes that laws with the purpose of obliging Canadians to conform to a specific religious tradition cannot be demonstrably justified in a free and democratic society. R versus Big M Drug Mart 1995 1 SCR 295. Next, people can only be imprisoned based on reasonable and fair laws. A provision in a Provincial Motor Vehicle Act stated that anyone found guilty of driving on a highway without a license or with a suspended license would face an automatic prison sentence. This meant that drivers could be found guilty even if they did not know that their license was suspended. The province of British Columbia asked the Supreme Court to decide whether this clause was consistent with the charter. So this case was by the British Columbia. The majority of the court found that the law was inconsistent with the charter based on the principle that no one should be put in jail if they have no intent to commit a criminal act. This case was significant because the court found that the charter requires laws that can lead to imprisonment or deprivations of life, liberty, or security of the person must be procedurally and substantively fair to the accused person. So in this case, the driver was not having the information that his license is there, valid, or has been suspended, and without knowledge he has no intention to commit a crime. So without the intention to commit a crime, no mens rea, so there can be no crime. So in this way, this act was found to be inconsistent with the charter. It was held by the court that it can lead to imprisonment or other deprivations unfairly. The case name is BC Motor Vehicle Act 1985 to SCR 486. Fifth, that we'll discuss today is the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. David Oakes was charged with the possession of narcotic under the Narcotics Control Act. The act assumed that those who had narcotics possessed them for the purpose of trafficking. The onus was on accused to prove that this was not his or her intention. Oakes argued that the act violated the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. The Supreme Court agreed and found that offense violated the presumption of innocence because it required accused to prove his innocence rather than the Crown to prove his guilt. In the end, the court struck down the offense because it was irrational to assume an individual was trafficking narcotics simply because they possessed small amounts of them. This decision also set out the framework for determining whether a law that limits a charter-protected right or freedom can be demonstrably justified in free and democratic society. So in this, the law was as such, the onus to prove the innocence, burden to prove intention was on the accused. Otherwise, it is always the duty of the prosecution to prove the guilty. And this act was as such framed that the person was considered guilty until he's without the case being proved. So the court struck down the offense later on because it was irrational to assume that an individual was trafficking, and the case also set out the framework for determining the limits for any law which interfere or which can cause some problem or interference in the protected rights of freedom mentioned in the charter. So the case name is R versus Oakes 1986 1 SCR 103. So we'll end the video here. We'll discuss our case laws, and if you like the video, press the like button. If you have any question, if you have any suggestion, do comment in the comment box, and also type thanks if you love the video. Share the video, spread the video so that free education keep on spreading and prevailing, and subscribe the channel for more legal updates. Thank you very much for discussion.